Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into charting today, graphic. And for scientific and engineering work, your physics lab, chemistry labs, all that kind of thing, a lot of times you're going to want a graph or a chart. So we need to prepare a graph or a chart correctly to present in our reports. It's very valuable. We want to present visual information, not tabular information, as much as possible. It really enhances our reports, our presentation, our lab reports, our chemistry reports, and so forth, and engineering reports and physics reports. So we're going to start out with some data. This is height versus time. Here's the time. And you usually set up data in columns. One column for this and one column for that. You can select the whole column. And here's how you make a chart. So I'm just going to take these two. I'm going to make a scatter chart. This is where column A will be on the x-axis, column B will be on the y-axis. The first column selected is on the x-axis, the second is on the y-axis. That is the way scatter charts or XY charts work. Since we're plotting predicted data, we want to use a smooth line. So, oops, my mouse moved. Hit it. There it is. There's the plot. Okay, I'm going to move it out of the way for now. Here's what I don't want you to do. Do not do this. Do not do this. And that is go to the line chart because they look real similar. So there's several types, they're stacked and all that stuff. We'll just go to the first one. Now I had those two columns selected. I must have deselected them accidentally before doing this. So let's select them again and show you the difference between a line chart and an XY chart. Okay. There it is. Okay. First, so it looks different, right? Notice something else. I'll make these a little bigger so you can see them easier, better. Slow electrons in my machine. Cursor takes a long time to move, and why in the heck are you taking such a long time? It is recording video at the same time I'm doing this, which that does take a few computing resources. Select this chart, move it around a bit. I want you to notice the time scale. Down here, if you select an axis, if you just click on the numbers and go here, you can make the font bigger. You can see it easier. There we go. Click on the numbers up in this chart. You can see it easier. You can make these charts look in a manner that is more attractive. So getting the lower chart again, grabbing it, moving it around so you can, I want you to compare the numbers on the x-axis for the bottom chart and the top chart. There we go. Now we can see both. Good. And this is 2. Okay, we can see both. This goes from 1 to 18. This goes from 0 to 4. This 0 to 4 is actual time in seconds. Actually, it goes to 3.4 maximum time. Doesn't go from 0 to 18. You're going to get the x-axis all wrong if you use a line chart. Use a scatter chart, an XY chart. Use this one, not this one. Okay. You'll also notice there's two lines. There's the line you're interested in right there. This is a second line. What Excel thinks is they want you to take this data. They want this to be data point number 1. And you have two lines. You have a line for time and a line for height. And data point number 2 which is number 2 on your line chart, data point number 2, and you have one for time and one for the height. That's not what you want in an engineering, most of the time in engineering science. Sales uses this a lot, quarter 1, quarter 2, and so forth, or month 1 to 12 and days, things like that. So sales and marketing uses line charts quite a bit, but engineers, primarily it's XY. We don't use this type of chart very often. Delete it. No line charts, only scatter charts. Okay, and we've already seen how to change the font on this. You can change the font on anything else. Let's make this a nice big fat font, 24. And I'm going to make this a nice big fat font too, 18. Now, I want to add chart elements. This is the chart title up here. I want a different title. This isn't real informative. Projectile height versus time. I want to add a chart element. You can do it from here. Axis title, I'm going to go primary horizontal first. And it's going to be, I can just start typing, by the way, once I've selected it. This is going to be time in seconds. And I can change the font on that too. I can make it bigger so it's easier to see, more visible. There's another place you can add the chart elements. Go to chart tools over here and design. Here's format. You can format all sorts of things in this chart. I'm not going to show you everything. You can add a text box in this chart and so forth. Here's design. Add chart element. I want primary vertical also. And that's going to be height in feet. Any text box you can do this to. Any text box on the chart. And you can also change the font size on any text box on this chart. So now we have a nice readable chart. I'm going to be looking for that on the charts you guys produce. Okay, now there's a couple other ways we can take a look at this data. So one way is to plot all three together. To do that, you just select all three columns. That's it. It's about as simple as that. Insert a scatter chart. This time we want lines and markers, both. Now, one set of data, we don't want the lines, and one set of data we only want markers. And the other set of data we only want lines. So I'm expanding it a bit. All the formatting you can still do. Just to save time, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to right click on the orange line. And you've got a menu that comes up that says Format Data Series. You can format it. I want to get rid of the lines. Experimental data, you don't connect with lines. No lines. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the other data series, the blue line. Right click, and now I can go to this. Format that data series. This time I don't want any markers. Go pick the bucket tool again, and instead of line, like you have, this by default comes up, you can click on marker. And you want marker options and none. It gets rid of the marker. So now we have predicted data, theoretical data, data from a mathematical formula, smooth line. Experimental data, markers, markers only. Do not connect the dots. Theoretical data, you would have lines only, no markers. Let's take a look at one more way to look at this data before we go to the next video. So let's say I just want to plot time and experimental height. You can hold down the control key, select column C, skipping column B, go ahead and insert your graph. And this time it's experimental only, so we select only the dots. There we go. So this graph pops up, and I'll make it bigger just so you can see it easier. So since we've already looked at formatting and labeling the axes and the titles, and this is something I'll expect you to do all the time, I'm not going to repeat it. I just wanted to show you how to select two columns of data when they're separated by a third column. If you make a mistake, I want to end the video with this. You make a mistake and you have time in column B, for example. These graphs are so easy to produce. You can fool around. You can select the data. You can change that around a lot. But a lot of times it's just not worth it. A lot of times it's better just to start over on your chart. You'll notice it had you might have noticed when I was going through this that I right-clicked on the data and it said select data. It's a difficult menu to work with. It's just plain difficult. So at least in the beginning, I'd recommend if you wanted all three columns, just delete the chart and start over. And that's it for this video. We'll go on to other charting tools next.